Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Russ and I drive my 2024 Subaru Forester here. On this channel, I tell you what it's like to live this car day to day, and in this video, it's going to be all about the CVT. I'm going to tell you all I know about the CVT and what my experience has been like living the CVT over the past year. I'm going to tell you about all the issues and all of its quirks, and I'll try to answer the question, should you avoid this car just because it has a CVT? So let's begin. And I think it's important to start with how I arrived at the Subaru Forester. Basically, when I was choosing a small family compact SUV, I was choosing between four models, essentially. Subaru Forester, Toyota RAV4, Honda CR-V, and Nissan Rogue. And yeah, for all my needs, obviously everybody's gonna have different needs, but for all my needs, Subaru was hands down the best car. And the only nagging feeling that I had about getting this car was it has a CVT. And out of all the cars I just mentioned, truth be told, all of them have a CVT except Toyota RAV4, and even then, only if you stick to the gas model. The hybrid has eCVT. So I was kind of like feeling I was cornered in that box where, yeah, I chose the best car, but it had this big anchor, basically, in form of CVT, and I was not thrilled about the CVT at all. Getting the Subaru Forester of the CVT obviously made me a little nervous. Here's why. I plan to keep this car for a long time. I want to drive it to 200,000 miles, at least. And it only has 3,000 miles now, and it's under warranty, obviously. So the issue of CVT and reliability doesn't really concern me that much now, but I'm thinking long term. I want to keep this car for a long time, like I said, and having a CVT, let's just be fair, they have questionable reliability over the years, and yeah, it definitely made me feel nervous because, yeah, like I said, I'm not looking to spend $10,000 for replacement of a CVT 6 years down the line or so, you know? So yeah, getting this car with its CVT was definitely a heavy decision that I didn't want to make, but I still had to make because this car and all of its benefits simply outweighed the risk of the CVT. So yeah, I decided to go for it and basically see what happens. And this is where the story begins. So here's what I could report after driving this car for 1 year. Basically, when I got this car, it was late May of 2024, and immediately I realized that Subaru Forester was a type of car that I've never driven before, and it came down to CVT because months later, here's what I learned. This car is very susceptible to temperature change, be it hot, cold, especially humid. This car will behave very different, and the CVT will behave very different depending on the temperature that's outside. Basically, when I got this car, it was middle of summer in New York. Summers in New York are very humid. And here's what this car likes to do on hot, humid days that it doesn't do on winter days, for example, or on cool days like we have today. So here's what it does. Let's imagine that purple van is a stop sign. And let's imagine you have a car in front of you, and both of you are cruising, doing 25, you slow down, you're doing 20, then you're doing 15, then you let your foot off the brake because there's enough room, and you could just slowly coast to the stop sign, and you expect the car to keep slowing down. No, it doesn't always do that, which is the weirdest thing because I never driven a car like this. Usually when you let your foot off the brake, the car starts to eventually go slower and slower. It doesn't give you that surge of power at some point, but this Subaru does, and it's very much related to the CVT and to the basically temperatures that are outside at the moment. And at first it was really freaky because there's a car in front of you. You don't expect your car that was going 15, 12, 11 to suddenly go back to 12 again. And that's what it does. It gains sometimes a mile of speed, and you could see it on speedometer, which is pretty freaky because it's like, what is happening here? Then months later, I realized what's happening here. First, of course, I went to the forums and thought that maybe my car is a lemon, maybe it has some issues, but no, it doesn't. That's what they do. It's by design. Basically, the car does engine braking. and you're used to the engine braking, and that's why you feel the car actively slowing down. But then at some point, the torque converter releases, and you feel this surge of power. And that's how you gain a mile of speed. Sometimes the passengers in the car, ask them, they never feel this. But you as a driver are going to feel it, and that's probably going to be a little freaky. And I even started asking my friends, like, do your cars do this? And they don't have Subarus, but still. And they're like, no, what is that? And yeah, I've also never driven in any cars that have this feature where it suddenly decides to speed up after slowing down and when you expect it to slow down. But yeah, this is Subaru Forester and this is CVT little quirk that I'm used to now, and it doesn't happen every day because I pretty much by now, I drive this car almost every day. I know on which days, just like when I'm outside, I'm like, today feels a little humid. It's probably gonna do it again. And yeah, it does it very much based on the weather. So that's quirk and issue number one. That's not really an issue, but something that takes getting used to and takes time to understand. But yeah, my car does that. And since we're on the topic of weather, let me tell you how this car and the CVT performed in the winter. Basically, it was November, I believe, those first cold, really cold nights in New York City, and I always would warm up the car through the app, which runs for about 10 minutes, and the engine is running, inside is getting all nice and warm. For you to get in, you get in, and you start driving, and suddenly I heard some like really rough sounds coming out of the CVT. Mind you, that the coolant blue light here that always shows up the first couple of minutes till the car is warm, that light was already off by then because the car has been running for like 10 minutes. But then you get in, you start driving, you don't see that blue light, you just drive it like regular. And the car just sounds like it had a cold or something, or has a cold, and it just sounds rough and like it doesn't want to go. And it's weird. The first time it happened, I'm like, uh-oh, something's off, something's broken. I actually pulled over, restarted the engine, and went away. I'm like, wow. And now suddenly the car drives like regular, like usual car. And yeah, I did not understand that. Then I had the same issue where it was really cold night, did the whole thing again, warm up, get into the car, start driving, and it happened again. I'm like, oh, I know what this is. This time I did not have a chance to pull over, and this sound maybe lasted 5-10 minutes of driving. And I'm talking about city driving, so like under 25 miles an hour. And yeah, the sound was again persistent, and the car didn't sound good, didn't sound healthy. Like something was dragging, or yeah, it just didn't sound good coming out of the CVT. Because it happened the second time, I was already not as freaked out, and I realized, okay, I guess that's what happens when I put two and two together, when the car is really cold. And yeah, then the sound went away, and after that, it happened pretty much almost every time when it was really cold, and the car just needed that extra time to warm up and get to around 200 degree. Over here you have the sensor for oil temp. So my regular temperature is running this car is between 200 and 210 Fahrenheit, degrees Fahrenheit. But yeah, basically till the car gets to about 200, you could expect to hear those sounds. At least that's what I heard. And yeah, not the best experience, but this is what the car does. But then I went into the manual, and on the page 500 something, it says that it's normal for the car to sound different till the coolant temperature is optimal, basically, and you might hear it spin at higher um, frequencies, something like that. I'm not sure if I'm quoting it correctly exactly. It's been a while since I read that page, but you get the idea. So it's normal, but just something you should be aware of. So another thing that this car does sometimes is when you're driving on a highway going 40, 50, 60 miles an hour for extended period of time, talking about an hour plus, then you get off and start driving in the city, and this car is a little jumpy, like it just lurches forward sometimes for no reason, like it's hunting for gear or something. And that happens between about 15 and 25 miles an hour, which is a bit annoying, and it doesn't do that on the regular, but when you get off the highway, that's what it starts to do, which is a bit weird. Also, and sometimes on colder days, even when you start the car and you've been driving for 15-20 minutes, sometimes it also does those like jumps forward a little bit and doesn't feel all that smooth, which is a bit annoying. but doesn't happen all of the time. I almost forgot to mention here that this CVT does have 8 simulated gears. The keyword is simulated because it's not real. It's a simulation because it's a CVT after all, but they still give you those useless pedals here where you could sort of switch between the fake gears, and they're completely useless and nobody does it, but they still give it to you for the look, I guess. But yeah, I think 90% of the people, or maybe even more, who would drive this car would never even know that this is a CVT versus a regular automatic. But of course I know, and I pay attention to these things, and it's important to me to report to you what I felt and experienced over the 1 year that I own this car. I still don't think that this is a deal breaker or should be a deal breaker. I guess time will tell. To me, I mean, the benefits of the car they still far outweigh the risk of the CVT or these quirks that the CVT has when it's humid, when it's cold, or when it's hunting for imaginary gears once in a while. Yeah, still the benefits of this car is far outweigh these little problems, if you want to call them that. But I guess time will tell. And I got this car. This is a 5th gen Subaru Forester. I got it in the last year they were making it, 2024. They started making this car in 2018. So if you're watching this, if you got to this point, please tell me how many miles you have on your car. Did you have any issues with your CVT? I would like to know. Please write in the comments below. I would love to know your experience and how has your CVT been, basically, over the extended period of time and years and miles of driving. Some of these CVTs go for 150,000 miles, no problem. Some of them break down after 60 or even before that. So you never know which one you're going to get. Obviously, it's going to depend on how you were treating it and the style of driving. I definitely plan to change the CVT fluid at 30,000 miles. That's what everybody seems to agree on. And because I plan to keep this car for a long time, way past the warranty. So let's see what happens. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and stay tuned for more useful videos like this. Take care.